Good afternoon, everyone. Hope we're all doing well. Today we're going to go through part editing in CabMaster. Excuse me, I haven't done this one before. So what I'm going to do, we're going to show you how the part editing works in CabMaster. I've just got a standard floor 2-door on the drawing at the moment. So pretty straightforward. There's a few ways to get into editing. So there's a few things we need to cover. Machine view, machining view. I can select a part here and go view. This shows me the part at cabinet level. Get into the editor. There's multiple ways to do it. I can hit the edit button. This will now dock the cabinet window and then come up with the editor. The quickest way out is hitting return to page view. So this will put you back exactly as you were before you went into the editor. So I want to show you a couple of different ways to get into it. You can also select right click on a hole, for example, or anywhere on the part. But if you do it on a hole, it takes you into the editor and you're ready to actually go move a hole. So it's very common to go, I just want to move a hole out of the way. So this is where we come to this. So it makes it easy. Just go, yep, move single hole. And I want to move, and you can go left, right, up, down. You can also, you can go -50 and things like that as well. So you can go positive and negative. You got left and right. This shows you where you are, where you're going to move. This shows you where it's going to end up once I'm done. So I move to the right 50 mil, so it's quite happily done that. So it's quick and easy to move a hole. Then you can hit return to page view and it just takes you back to exactly where you were. Okay, so there's a couple of ways to get in here. So when you're in here, there's a lot of things you can do. And there's a few things you need to really understand first. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a rectangle. So I grab a rectangle, draw it in the middle of the part. We've now got a rectangle. If we go to return to page view, go to 3D, you can see I've now got a rectangle cut out on the side of the part. So I'm going to go back into the editor. Now, what I need to do though, there's some really important things in here. If I double click on this rectangle, it comes up with an editor. I can unlock it, so it lets me play with it. So here's the size of the part. So I can make this 100 by 200, something silly. That's fine. You can change the size, you can change the depth, you can change the color. You can also change the offset. So this comes from the bottom left-hand corner. So 0, 0 will put me into the bottom left-hand corner. You can also freehand move it around. I'm going to put it to right there. Now, the really important bit, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. We're going to do a video possibly next week on layer names and exporting it to AEST or NRoute. But we need to understand what the layer names actually are. For example, if I click on this part here, oh, this one actually says border 1, border 2. It's actually called border. Sorry, mine's set up differently. It's actually called border. This part here actually has a layer called -border. You can change the layer name. Now, what the layer name does, it is the identifying name that you assign tooling to in AEST when you go to the machine. So you can say for border, I want to use a 9.5 mil compression cutter and I want to go at 20 meters a minute. That's the name that gets assigned to the tooling later. So it's very important to know what it is. You will need to change that at some stage. So I just want to show you here. So I've got one called -border. What does that mean? I'll show you what it does. So we go back into here, we go to 3D. It's cut it out. So I'm just going to quickly go into here, make it quick and easy to see here. Go cabinet, turn the doors off. Just makes it easy to see the cabinet. So you can see the border, like the outside of the part, is now joined one. If we go back to the editor, you can see that the part overlaps. The rectangle overlaps, but we've gone -border. So what I've done, it actually goes, I want to join to the border layer, but I want to actually cut that out of the like I want to take it out -border of that section. So it follows the border and follows around to reduce that section. Now, that being said, I can also change that to a plus and go +border, and it's pretty straightforward. That's going to do. It's now going to add that to the layer. So I've now got that extra section there. It's easy to see in hidden view. So that little bit that stuck out the front is now part. So I've now added that shape to the border. The internal bit's not relevant at the moment because the border is just been, whatever's external to the border is now added to it. So it makes it easy to add things. If you want to add something to the border, look, you can do that. What I would be doing though is I'd be saying I want to add on something that's 50 mil, well 500, 50 mil. Sorry, getting a bit excited there. 50 mil by 50 mil. Sorry, 50. Why do I keep typing 00? I want to do that, and I want to add it on to. So this would be minus 50 because that puts me onto the external board, and I want to go up 200 mil. That will now add that section there. Actually needs to overlap slightly, so I'd make this 51. So it actually overlaps the border, so then it knows it needs to add it on. So if it just touches it, it may not actually do it. You need to go past it slightly. So 51, but I'm over 50 mil from the edge, so I'm going to overlap by 1 mil, so that will now add that little section onto it. So this is where the layer is important. So if I was to do something else, grab one of these, put that to there, and call it unlock it, and call this cutout 1, that will just do a cutout in that area through there. It won't care about the border. It won't overlap it. It won't join it. It will do it. Because there's actually no physical material there, it will actually look like a border minus, but it will actually do it as a different layer. When you set it to the machine, this first one here with border plus will actually do that as one piece. This one here will actually do the border, then it'll come back and do a second cut there, and it'll actually cut this entire shape. So it'll cut into the part next to it. This is where it's important to know what the layers are doing. The other thing is, if I made a layer here and called it mic 1, it's most unlikely you've got a layer called mic 1 in AEST. So it will do nothing unless you actually add the layer into your ATP and assign tooling to it. It will do nothing because I've created a layer that now has no tooling assigned to it at the other end. Border will, because you need border to cut all your parts. So the default one will. The other one where that gets interesting is when you add in a bore. So I just want to add a hole right there. Same thing with the layers. So I'm just going to unlock this so I can play with it. Going to 5 mil deep. It's 20 mil diameter. But the layer is called bore. Doesn't tell us anything. I could call this bore 10 millimeters. That's the layer I'm going to get in EasyNest, and I assign tooling to that. This diameter here is actually completely ignored. It's just a diameter in CabMaster, but this is a layer I'm going to assign tooling to. So it's really important when you create a new layer, make it descriptive. Make it so you know what you're doing. If you just call it bore or call it shelf or something like that, it's going to get done as the exact same layer. If you want a 5 mil hole like a shelf hole, by all means call it a shelf. It'll actually use the same layer. It'll all work quite happily. But if you want to do something different, use a different tool, different diameter, different depth, then you need to get this right, the layer name correct. And again, we're going to go into more depth in this next week. But this is a really important area you need to get right. The layer is very important. This is what links it all together. So again, I can call it bore 20 and change this diameter 10, and it'll do whatever tool I assign to this layer in NRAM. It'll display a 10 mil hole, but it'll do whatever you assign the layers to. Again, bores are pretty straightforward. You just tell it literally what's the depth, what's the diameter, and where do I want to be. I want this to be 150 by 200 because I like typing double zeros. So that's now, and again, this bottom left hand is always a datum point for everything in CabMaster. That's always your datum point. So that's how you add in those holes. There's a few things I've got to jump in on now. Delete this one here. Delete. You can add in, so adding in rectangles, we can do this. Again, you can call it whatever layer you like. So this one here, we're just going to call it cutout. It's full depth, so that's fine. I'm going to grab another rectangle, put it on top of that. I'm going to call that cutout as well. Now, that will add those two together. And actually, that'll now cut out that one shape, the border of those two parts. So the center section will be ignored. That'll be completely open through those areas. Again, it'll do it in one piece. If you have two different layers, if I call it cutout and cutout 2 or something like that, that will then do that as two separate parts when it goes to the machine. So you can specify all the dimensions. Here's my dimensions. You can lock the aspect ratio. So if I change this one to 100, that one will change at the same ratio. You can move where they start, where they finish. So you can get things fairly accurate, well, very accurate because you're moving things around. You can also do other things in here. So I can actually grab this and say I want to move. Let's put this at 0, 0 as an example. So that's 0, 0. It's right in the corner there. I'm going to grab it, and it looks slightly off because there's actually edge tape on the border. So the the end part here is actually not on 0. It's going to be at possibly -1 at 1, because it's on the front of the end left. There's going to be edging. That's why it looks like it's overlapping slightly, which it is. I can move it here. Set length. I say, oh, let's move this by 150 mil. So there's multiple ways to do lots of different things. I don't want to move it up 150 mil. So you can use these arrows here to move things around, or you can actually specify here where you want it to be. You could move this around freehand, put it smack on the middle of the hole, of that hole to there, so it snaps to there. But I want that to be plus 150 mil to the left of that, right of that. There's multiple ways to do lots of different things. So this is quite a complex area, but it actually can be quite simplistic as well, if that makes sense. There's just different ways to do different things. If you know exactly the size you want, where you want to go, type in a size, type in a dimensions, move it offset. Again, there's your data point. There's your data point for the part. So everything's in the bottom left-hand side. So that dot there is exactly 300 mil from the 0 point of the part in X, and then 101 up in Y. So X is always left to right, Y is always up and down. So there's consistency of those dimensions. So drawing in parts, this is quite easy. You can do it again, circular and ellipse. If you hold down Shift when you're drawing circles, it actually does a circle, keeps it perfectly round. If you don't, you can drag it and do ellipses as well, freehand. Again, once you've done it, double click on it. It'll bring up the editor, unlock it. How big do you want it to be? Let's make it 200 by 50 just to do a weird shape. You can do things like that. Again, where do you want to move it? Pretty straightforward. And again, overlap anything you want. You can do something like this if I wanted to, and it'll cut. If I move that one over slightly, it will then cut out this. If they're the same layer, it will actually cut out the external shape of all those two parts there. If it's the different layers, then it'll do two different parts as well. So where it's much more efficient when you're machining to do it is one path. If you want to do that, cut out that shape instead of doing the rectangle, then doing the ellipse, because you're going to get this little small bit in the middle, which potentially can get stuck in the dust extractor and things. So you want to make it and it's also doing two different passes. You want it to be as efficient as possible. So that's how you can draw parts. This is pretty straightforward. Polygon, very much like some of the other tools we have in CabMaster. Start point. I want to move over. You can free. I like double zeros, don't I? You can freehand. You can then start doing these arrows here, doing things like this. Go out, go down. There we go. So you can put in accurate numbers, or I can actually just grab this one. Literally, I start a new one and go, I want to draw up to here, around here. And I'm going to draw around this one this time. So you can do things like that. So you can freehand it. You can accurately use the length calculators. Literally any shape you want. And again, double click on it, or if it's not already up, unlock it, change the border, change the layer name, change the depth. I want this to be 3.2 millimeters deep. I want it to make it easier to see it's something different. It's now green. You have control over what you want these parts to be. This is just a example of how to do lots and lots of different things. Polylines aren't used very often because you're literally just doing a line, and you can just engrave something like that as well. Because it was overlapping the other parts, it made them disappear. Again, if you click off then back on it, they do come back. So the other one, and another thing, is if you want to chamfer a corner or fillet a corner, same thing, chamfer a corner, you can literally freehand drag. You do have some default lengths set, which I'll show you in a minute. So you can freehand this. Oops, you can type in up there. You can type in want it to be 150 mil long. Hit tab. Whenever you type in a number, always hit tab. That's now 150 mil across that, or so let's across the diagonal, or let's make it 150 mil long down the side. So it's now 150 mil that way. Hit enter, and it will accept that change. You do have, where are they? There's another way to set the default numbers in here. Catch this toolbar. Nope. I'll come back to that in a minute, because you can actually set default numbers in there. Same as fillet. Same thing with fillet. Again, you can freehand it, or you can actually go, and if you go over to it, sometimes it inverts itself like it's doing here, doesn't matter because I'm going to go give me a 80 mil radius, and it puts it back into the right spot as well. So you can do different things in here. Tab. So it's tab to acknowledge it, and then hit enter to close the window down. I'm going to go back to the cabinet. So let's go back to revert to cabinet view, because this part looks very unusual now. If we go into 3D, I'm guessing it's going to show us all these weird and wonderful parts. The one I was thinking of is if you go to that one. Now that's that one. You can set your default quick lengths. So that's on the drop down there. So if we go back into the editor, I want to change to a different part to give me a clean part to play with. So I'll go into here, unlock the part, throw in a rectangle. Okay, so we've got quick lengths. This what these ones here are. Okay, so what you can do with quick lengths is if I was going to go, so I'm going to start a polygon here. I'm going to start here. I want to go at, there you go. So you start dragging the line, and so 1, 2, you hit the numbers on your keyboard, 1 to 9. So 1 to 9, and it'll actually give you the length that you specified as your quick length. So then you start dragging it, hit number, that's going 60 by 60 across, because number 6 is 60. So you can quite happily do these quick, what we call quick lengths. So you press the down button here, and these are the quick lengths. So you can set these at whatever you like. So I call this could be 100, this could be 250, things like that. You can set your quick length in here. So then when I start drawing something, same as if I go to, it should happen, if I go fillet corner, I should be able to hit 2. No, I can't because it starts typing in there. Okay. Oh, no, because that's actually highlighted. Okay, so you can't use quick links in here because the box is highlighted already. That makes sense. But if I was going to move something, if I was going to grab a hole, for example, and go move single hole, can I do that? No, I can't because it's actually in the editor already. Okay, if you're in this editor, you can't do it. But if you're actually trying to do something, you can actually click on a part and move it. Yeah, no, you're in an editor, so you can't do it. It's only when you're drawing these polylines and polygons you can do it with. That's what this quick length is for. So you can specify all your favorite lengths, and when you actually ask to type in a length that's not in an editor. So that's the difference. So when I'm typing in one of these, I'm going to start here, and I'm going to type in 2. I'm now at 250. So I click on that, start dragging next one, hit number 1. I'm now at 100. Start dragging. Let's go to 40 mil. So you can start doing things like that. So if you've got default sizes in there, you can happily move them around. Yeah, add in your own quick lengths. And there's 2 different sizes of quick lengths. There's a quick lengths in the editor, which are generally much smaller. You're moving, you might move up to the size of a part. You've also got quick lengths in the CabMaster editor. So if we jump back into here, you go back into the same area, you have quick lengths in here, which are generally much bigger because you could be drawing a wall. So it could be drawing a wall or moving a cabinet. You're not moving small increments. That's why there's 2 different quick lengths. That's a strange part. You wouldn't normally go to that extreme, so that's where I've gone a bit crazy and got things all over the place. Okay, so from there, you can also do other things in here. You can actually go add corner. So you can actually start moving things around. You hold down shift, it lets you put it in a straight position. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go add corner. Another one to there. So now I can go from here and go add corner, and I can now bring that out to here. And you should actually be able to, there you go, you can press the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and actually give you an actual length. So I'm 100 mil out to there, and I'm going to go and add another corner here and go add corner and press 1 again, 100 mil up. Okay. So I'll go to there. So I've now done this. I can now go fillet corner. So there's a lot of things you can actually do in here. Chamfer corner. So I can completely change the border just by adding a corner. You say, I want another corner. That gives me another data point along the line. So you can add as many corners as you like and add more corners through here if you really want. Okay, add another corner. And again, hold down Shift. If you hold down Shift, just keeps in a straight line. So if I now go add corner here, I can now drag the center bit here out and go, yeah, add one to there, add another corner to there, and take it down another step again. So get that straight. There we go. And you can chamfer and fill it and all those sorts of things. So the machine editor is very powerful. It's different from, we did have a different editor before where it was, a lot of people said it was much easier. You could click on you could only edit the holes ultimately. So I just want to move a hole. The difference is the previous old editor that was actually happening in the cabinet was only modifying the DXF, the final output. This is actually editing the part in CabMaster, not just the DXF it's outputting. So this is much more powerful in here. There's a couple of extra steps, but it's now quick and easy to get in here, get out of here, especially with return to page view. So once you're done it, you go return to page view, and it will now show you what you've done in here, and you can see the part sticking out. So that's, yeah. I'm just playing in here, so obviously you'd want to do it correctly. So I've got that bit sticking over there, these cutouts. It does work. Again, my back is actually going into, as you can see, the back is actually in the same spot as that, so the back's behind. So the reality is that cabinet won't work, but I'm actually, again, just for demonstration purposes, it's not designed to be a correct cupboard in here. But it is a very powerful editor. This one is more powerful than the other one. It's just a little bit harder to get into ultimately. The other one you can do, actually show you the other one, you don't have to go through here anymore. If you're just in the cabinet, you can go from here, you can go down here, go machining. It comes up with this menu here. So this is where you can actually specify which part you're looking at. And you can go directly from here, just to the shelf, hit the edit button, takes us into the editor. Again, you're also in here with this new layout. If you have the cabinet docked, it would automatically be in here anyway, if you're using that docked side. You can actually have this, if you actually exit here, I'll show you, go back to here, and if I have that window docked, it actually shows you, it can actually show you the, if you have that unselected, it'll show you the cabinet down bottom. So you can see the exact cabinet you're working on, and it's all obviously all adjustable. So you can see as you're playing with the cabinet, what it's actually doing. And if you go into the editing of it, or you can go down machining, you can then choose the part you want to look at. So again, it's really quick and easy. Once you get the hang of it, it is a different label. Once you get the hang of it, it's quite easy to use, and you can literally go into here, and instead of move single hole, you can also hit control now. So you can click, 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 and just go move group. I'm going blind. I can't even see it now. Oh, you can actually move them through there. You can do that. Oh, that was a little bit too much. There we go. So you can multi-select. You can do that. You can actually go move single hole, or you can actually move the whole lot of them. You can also select like that. And again, move them all. You can also edit them. If you actually click on any of these holes, it comes up with those, it tells you what it is. So this one here is actually called leg main. Again, it's purple. It gives you the diameter, depth, layer name. So that's the layer name it's going to be output. If you actually outputting a cabinet, for example, and it's not, something's not machining, have a look what the layer in here is called, and then go and see if that layer's in your ATP. Again, next week's discussion, but that's what you can do with finding out what layer it even is. You don't have to edit, and you can just literally click on a part or double click on a part. It'll come up with the editor. If it's padlock's locked, then it means you can't edit anything unnecessarily. It's all these things are standard, because you don't want to change things, especially diameter, because again, diameter isn't actually relevant on the way out. The layer name is. But you can see what the layer name is. You can also click on the part, and down the bottom, hang on. So it tells me down the bottom of the page when I'm not in here, when you're out of here. If you go into this one here, you can click on the part. Oh, if it's docked. There you go. So I can click on that, and it will tell me down the bottom what it's actually called. So this one here, layer 1 is called cutout. So it's also important to know, have a look down here, layer shelf. So that's called the shelf. What's that one called? In the center. Okay. That's called cutout 2. So you can see what the layer names are actually called by being in here as well. Bore 20mm. So it's another area you can see what's going on. But yeah, editing parts, you can do a lot in here. It's quite a fun area. You can do it quickly. Again, I'm going through a whole lot of different things. I'm trying to do it quick. You can quite happily come in here, move aside. You can actually let's go back in there. One last thing. When you're in here, you can actually just go grab that. All right. You can move the whole thing around. There you go. Curve edge format. Okay. So you can also, oh, yes, right. You can also curve the entire edge. That was the other one I was going to show. So I can actually do it on this edge as well if I wanted to. You can just go curve edge. And again, you can go up here and type in the numbers you want. So I want it to come out 100 mil, or I want it to be an aspect ratio, or I want it to be a radius, or I can just freehand the whole lot and see what's doing. There's a lot of things that's showing me in there. But once you click it, it will actually get rid of all the other stuff and just show you the radius. So yeah, radius is chamfers, fillets. You can add corners. You can, and again, add corner doesn't mean it's a corner. It just means it's an extra section in that part. So you can go add corner to there. You can actually just pull it out and do that if you really wanted to. Or hold down Shift. I want it to be there. Again, add corner to there. And then I was going to curve the edge from the middle. So it's just a way to give another marker point is all it's doing. So add corner means another marker is all it really is. So there's a lot you can do in there. Hopefully this has been, oh, there's some questions, sorry. Where's the questions? How do I find the questions? Okay. How do we add edging to cutouts? You don't add, this is just machining, so there's no edging specifically in here. That's a very good question. Well, this is just editing machining, so the answer is not edging in here. Add edging to cutouts. Yeah, okay. Who load DXF files onto parts? You can bring in DXF as a special cutout. You could do that. Hang on, let me go back to, again, you can actually get back to plan here. It takes you back to the plan view through the breadcrumb bar. You can also come into the editing. Actually, that's another thing. I'll do that. The difference is, I'm going to grab another cupboard just because that one's a mess at the moment. You can go through here and select the cupboard and then go into the part and select the part you want to edit here. So there's another way in. The way I prefer to go in through here, because it puts everything back to the way it was. Personal choice. I've been using CabMaster for 17 years. It never used to dock. I've got the habit of having the window floating, this floating window here. The new style you can have it docked. I'm just old school habit. So I like doing that, editing it, and then when I finish, I like coming back, hitting the return to page view button because it puts it back exactly as it was. But again, multiple ways to do it. Sorry, I'll come back to your questions now. So I'll just choose an end. Oh, sorry, you can load DXF. Yes, you can. If you go into here and you can do a defined cutout. So let's go view end left, defined cutout. So I can bring up this window here and I want to add, I'll go to the default samples and it's going to go into the end left. It's going to be, so you set the size of the bounding box of the part you want to add into it and where do you want it, center of that one, and the color. Color 2 is yellow, you can never see it. I always go to 4 or 5, it makes it easier to see what's going on. Again, this is your layer name here, so I'm going to call it DXF cutout, and I'm going to need to assign tooling to that, but I can specify how deep this is, 3mm. You specify the tooling and things in CabMaster in EasyNest once you've done that. So once you've done that, you can then go and edit, and that should be in there as well. So you can always play with that in here because you're in the editor. Whoop, I need to unlock. You can hold down Control. There you go. You can hold down Control to unlock it, or you can hit the unlock button. And I can play with things in here as well. Not a lot. Again, you can change color, you can change the depth, change the dimensions here. You can also do this in the other editor for DXFs as well. So there's, again, multiple ways to do things, which is fairly normal for us. Because people like to do things differently. So there's that. Again, return to page view takes you back to the original layout. So that's how you import DXFs. It's through defined cutouts, not through the machine editing, because you're actually importing something into the cabinet. Then you can go and play with it later on. If you need to modify top and bottom of the cabinet, how do we update the shape of the bounding box to suit? You can't edit the bounding box of the cabinet. The cabinet is still set in. So I could do something silly here, for example, and just grab this side and stretch it out if I can unlock everything. So I'm pressing Control and Shift to let me just drag things. Oh, there's nothing. You can actually press Control unlocks it, but also Shift holds it straight. So I can actually grab that. So I'm pressing Control, and it lets me just move this around. If I press Control Shift, it'll drag it out straight. So if I did something like this, that part is now from that point. It actually tells me it's 1014 long. That sits me down at the bottom of the modal. It tells me there 1014 long. But when I go back to the cabinet itself is still only 560 deep. So the bounding box of the cabinet is going to remain at 560. I've edited this part to be different from the cabinet. So it's not technically part of the cabinet anymore, and you can see it sticking out the back, and the bounding box stays within that. It will send out the right part to the machine because it's going to send out the full part there, but they are two different things. The cabinet is still set its original size, and we've edited the part separately from the cabinet. So different border names for each different material, so the colors can be selected automatically in en route. Sorry, I'm reading to myself. Are we able to assign different border names for each material? And that's so the yes and no. I'm trying to think. The answer is yes, you can, but you have to write formula to do it. So it's not something. It's something that we could possibly help you guys with. As I saw it right at the very beginning, I actually have a different layout to the standard one because I've been playing with a different machine. So under the layers table, you can actually put in formulas in here. And my border one actually is called border 1, border 2. You can actually add different different names. I've got 2, and the reason I've got 2 in here is this one actually goes directly to BSE Works or to BNest, because BNest actually needs 2 layer names to get the border to work. So I've done that on this one. The original layer is called border, but I actually output 2 different layer names, and you can actually specify how it works, and we do different formulas in this. So you could theoretically, I'd have to think about that, but theoretically, yes, we could actually output. You'd have to put something into material that would actually be picked up on our export the layer name. So yeah, you could do that. I'm sure we could. That would be actually whoever asked that one, Adam. So are we able to assign different border names to each different material so that different colors can be selected automatically en route? Throw that question to support. Let's get that question onto support. Actually, the support guys are listening. Support, have a note of that. Let's have a look at that next week. I'm sure that'd actually be quite a good one to discuss in a different forum, but we'll come back on that one because I like the question. It's something that gets us thinking about outside the box. Can the cutout size be constrained to size? So can the cutout size be constrained to the size? Not easily, no. Again, not if you're doing it in here. Again, multiple ways to do things. Depends what it is. So if I was to go in here and just draw a rectangle and the side of the part there, if you go change the size of the cabinet, no, that part will stay where it is. But if you want to do a rectangle like that, you can quite easily, again, multiple ways to do different things. You can actually do a custom table. So we could do a custom table in here. So I'm slightly off track from machining, but this is still the same thing. So I can come in here and do 4 vents, for example. You can do custom tables, and they can be written parametrically, so that will actually stay with the constraints. So depending on what shape you want to do, if it's a common thing you want to do, if it could be for a daisy chain, or it could be some cutout for a water pipe or electrical plug, absolutely. You can write a custom table that then is parametric. You can also do custom tables that can get edited inside the drawing properties. You can have, I don't have them turned on, here you go, local properties. You can turn these here on. and we can assign these to a custom table. That's what they're for. These are defined so you can actually use them yourself. And then they come up on this first page under local properties, and you can put in a variable or a number or whatever you want in here, and we can use them in custom tables. So you can say, I want this box to be 123 by 150 millimeters rectangle, and it's always constrained to the top left or something like that. So the answer is yes, we can do that again in a different way under custom tables. If you're not sure how to do custom tables, definitely ring up support, contact them, because we have guys that actually do this specifically, because they're we can show you guys how to, or we can write something for you guys. Again, depending on the complexity of it, we're not going to write that Christmas tree in a custom table, but rectangles or vents and things like that, we do have a lot of them already in there. So can you fillet chamfer angles at other than 45 degrees? Again, yes and no. A chamfer, no. If you chamfer a corner, no, you can't. But again, there's other ways to do things. You go add a corner, and add a corner to there, and I can add a corner to here, and you can specify where the corner actually is and how far it is, and then I can chamfer, and I can actually delete this corner here. And now I have something that's not 45 degrees. So again, different ways to do things. It's thinking outside the box. And again, you could quite happily put in a specify the length of that section and the length from that corner. So come in here, come in a certain length, or I can actually move corner 50 mil to the right, and that will move that corner there. I'll delete that over there, remove corner. And you can add another corner here and do it the right size. So the answer is yes, there's different ways to do things. A chamfer by definition is 45, but you can do a different move to get the same result, if that makes sense, if you're doing it not 45 degrees. Can you add corners? You can add corners to achieve what you're after, though. Oh, okay, yes, there you go. Exactly what Nick said. Will the defined cutouts be visible in 3D? Yes, absolutely. Hang on, let me just check this. Which side is it on? Because it's also, it's not in there. I'm also not going the right depth. If I go to the defined cutout and specify all the way through, then it absolutely should be visible in 3D. There you go. So yes, the defined cutouts are visible in 3D if you go through. If you go through 3 mm, it should have been visible on the inside of the part, but it was on the other face. So yes, so the answer is yes, the defined cutout should absolutely be visible. Yeah, if you do that. So yes, that does work. Okay, is there any more questions, or are we going to call it for today? That's sorry, I know I speak a lot and I move quickly. This video will be up next week. Please come back and watch it, but watch it slowly, because I do talk quick. I get excited. I get very excited by these things. There is a lot in it. There's a lot you can do. Again, got any questions, call support. Thank you very much for your time. I would be signing out. Thanks, everyone.